So I don't think there's really many more rules than that. So does anybody have a question? Did everybody put money in the parking meters? Usually I say, did anybody park in the, in the senior citizen, parking spots, because they'll tow you. So normally we're not in a venue like this. Normally we're at River Street Commons, but because of concerns about COVID, we didn't want to be in a senior space, just in case. I and some others will be wearing masks. We encourage you to wear masks if you want to, but there's no mandate to wear masks. Okay? Any questions? All right. You okay? All right. So we're gonna get started here. So Billy Portman is running for mayor, and he will have time right now for a 2-minute opener, and then we'll have time for 15 minutes of questions, and then I'll have 2-minute closing. Okay?
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, everyone, for, and certainly turn it over to questions that anybody has.
Okay. All right. All right. So, as I said earlier, I'm just going to go sweeping back and forth across the room and call on you. If you could just stand up, and if we have a trouble with the mic, I guess we could repeat the question. Okay. So we're going to start over here and keep sweeping. Remember, the rule is if you're already an elected official, committee member, or committee party leader, you don't ask a question. Okay. So we're going to start sweeping across here. Any questions? Yes. Just say your name and maybe what street you're on, just so people know. Okay.
Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace Street. Mr. Portman, you say you don't like the direction that Red Bank has been going in. What exactly don't you like? Tell us. And how long are you talking about? Years or the last 8 months? Or if you could just...
Did everyone hear the question?
No.
Okay. So for me, I've only been really focused on Red Bank local politics for the last year or two. My focus was always nationally. I probably got involved in the 2004 campaign. I was in Colorado for a few months. I ran the phone bank for John Kerry on the western slope of Colorado. I went to Nevada to campaign for Obama in 2008. So Pennsylvania for Hillary and for Biden. So it's really only been the last few years that I've been paying attention, frankly. I have not been involved at all in local politics in Red Bank. To me, shame on me for not realizing this is how it's been forever, but I was not happy with the way, when I found out how we nominate our candidates for mayor. I was not aware of the municipal committee system. And it just didn't seem fair to me. It still doesn't seem fair to me. 18 people, when you have a room full of 18 people deciding who the candidate should be for mayor, that literally means that nobody gets a vote. Republicans don't get a vote, obviously, because in that system, Republicans don't vote in a Democratic primary and vice versa. And really, the Democratic voters don't get a choice either because the choice has been made for them. And until I ran and won substantially off the line, it was a foregone conclusion that if you got the line, most voters are just going to say, oh, here's a line of Democrats, that's who we're selecting. So that didn't seem fair to me, and so it worked out. It coincided nicely. The reason I decided to run and the fact that we have nonpartisan elections as an option, they align perfectly for me. I like nonpartisan elections. Anybody who can run. John called me one time. We were talking on the phone this summer, and he said, how's it going to be any different with Kate as the chair of the committee versus Ed? And I said, the difference will be that anybody who wants to run can run. So in May, if we're having new elections and you want to run for mayor and I want to run for mayor and Michael wants to run for mayor, we can all run for mayor. We'll be on the ballot and the voters of Red Bank will make that decision, not 18 people in a room. So I hope I answered your question.
Okay, over in the back and then we'll come in forward. Go ahead.
So
administration, council and mayor are totally non-receptive to anything.
I'm sorry, non what?
Receptive. I have written the mayor multiple times to try to fix the safety at the train gates and to fix the traffic. I have New Jersey Transit did a study for me in January. I was never able to get the mayor to respond to my emails, phone calls. I then emailed the entire council, and I got a response from Ed Zipridge and Kathy Horgan. I still don't have the information I need from New Jersey Transit. They fixed part of the train gates for the traffic, but how are you going to be different? You and I have communicated on Facebook, but you never followed up with me to talk to me about any of these issues. It was exactly what I have been facing in the past. My elected officials only care about the faction that they represent. I'm an independent. You represent me, and how are you going to better Red Bank? You have 5 months, you say, that you're just gonna help sweep it through. As a taxpayer, I can't wait 5 months for things to be done. So how are you going to better Red Bank in the 5 months that you have and be receptive to all Red Bank residents, not just your faction?
I could just give Billy this mic.
That's all right, I'll grab it, yeah, thank you.
So, thank you for your question. The reality of it is, I mean, we have a factionalized local government right now. If you drive around, and you look, it's reflected by the yard signs. So.
That's not my question. My question is, what are you gonna do to better Red Bank? I don't care about the factions. I care about you as an individual. What are you gonna do to better Red Bank?
Right, so the reason I'm bringing that up is I want to illustrate the point that if I'm on the council as the mayor, I'm a non-voting member of the council, and Ed Zipridge and Michael Ballard and Angela and John are all on the council, and Jacqueline, what I'm going to be doing is probably whatever they want to be doing because they'll have the majority on the council. So I'll be a little bit limited in what I can do. I can certainly speak up.
Are you ever gonna get back to residents? You didn't get back to me.
I was pretty good about getting back to residents. I found you actually, honestly, very hostile when we were messaging back and forth. And I was also, very busy. But I'm sure if you talk to a lot of the residents here, I'm pretty good at getting back to residents.
So I wasn't hostile. I was asking what your platform was and how you were going to lower taxes.
Right, and we can certainly revisit. I still have the conversation. I did say to you, my big focus has been on getting elected, having nonpartisan reform. We need to change the way we elect people. And then you said, well, what do you stand for? So I said, well, here's some things that I'm interested in supporting. And you wrote back in capitals. You didn't even mention taxes. I was like, okay. I know, yes, but anyway.
So hold on, I'm gonna just take a time break here, because one, you need to talk, and we're not gonna be able to do this in this forum, so I would ask that you both talk, and I would ask that when a question comes about what are you gonna do to make Red Bank a better place, then try and answer the question about making Red Bank a better place. I'm gonna just move on for the moment, okay? But I encourage you to figure out a way to have a conversation, okay? Yes, gentlemen here. There's a mic that is roaming. You're going to take that, and you're going to take this.
All right. No,
Okay?
Billy, I'm a long-term Democrat my whole life. My mother, my grandmother, and where it came from. And so it's unusual for me to be thinking about this nonpartisan election. But I feel, do you agree that the result may be that the party here will focus on we have one of the best state senators in New Jersey. This guy is really, and he's just at the beginning. Focusing on getting the assembly seats back, focusing on bigger picture stuff. These senators aren't gonna last forever. And instead of this town internal stuff, because the trouble with towns controlled by one party is it causes sort of an assessment relationship within the town. And it's just, everybody knows this. You're seeing it all around us. A lot of these other towns have the same thing going.
So
And
the
this is a-
question?
So my question is, do you think this will help do this? Sorry. Do you think this will help do this, or we get rid of this, maybe the Democrats will focus on something else besides each other?
Well, yes, I'm very optimistic that nonpartisan elections will help change things for a couple reasons. One, the election portion of it, there's the charter study, there was two components to it. There was how we elect people and how we govern. On the election side, I think, again, it's automatically a lot more inclusive, and everybody will have a voice in voting for their candidates. So we'll be running we'll be getting rid of primaries in that regard. We might still have runoffs, so I think that part is very inclusive. And also the way we govern, I think, is going to help things. The model that we're calling for is a council manager model. It has a strong business administrator. And one of the biggest complaints when they did they did a management study here in Red Bank in 2018. One of the biggest complaints from employees was meddling by council members, even getting contradicting information from two different council members. So this will eliminate a lot of that because the day-to-day operations will be run by the business administrator. He'll be running at he'll be doing the council's bidding, and he'll serve at the pleasure of the council, and we can fire a business administrator if we're not happy with the job they're doing. But I think some of that will take away opportunities for conflict. There's so much ego-driven conflict on the council, so obvious hostility. I think that just by changing the way we govern will eliminate a lot of that, just by the very nature of it.
Okay, we have time for about one or two more questions at the most. Burning questions somebody has.
I have one. Mary doesn't.
Just hold on. I said two more questions. We got one down here, and then we're gonna go up there. Okay, just hold on. Go ahead. Amy?
Amy Humphreys here, on Westlake Road in Red Bank. What if, that nonpartisan ballot question doesn't pass, and you are going to be our mayor for the next 4 years under the current form of government? What do you bring to the table?
That's a good question. In 10, and again, there was a plan done in 2018. I think that's an important thing that addresses safety and addresses the environment. I'd like to make sure that a lot of the quality of life issues are dealt with. I mean, nothing annoys. We have all these big issues about taxes and development, but let's just make sure the streets are clean. Let's make sure that there's not trash laying around our downtown. Let's make sure that we can do whatever we can to make the streets safer. So there's definitely a focus on quality of life issues. Again, I'm sure I'll take a lot of guidance from the master plan. This will let us know how we're implementing development across the town. So those are a couple of the issues.
Okay. So we're gonna take
Can you give to us a detailed description of what it's going to cost, not only in voter disenfranchisement, but in actual costs to the town, to change our branding, to change every single sign in town? Are we gonna have to renegotiate our union contracts? Are we going to be paying our council people differently? Are they going to be getting benefits? And where is all of this money coming from? And how are you, as the leader, going to implement this in the 5 months that you've got if it passes? And then the only other thing I want to say is if you're willing to work with everybody, why aren't you working with the people who won the Democratic nomination, who are John and Angela? So that's my question.
Well, that's a lot of questions, but I'll do my best to answer them.
It's 3 in 1, but I'm doing this.
First of all, I'm sorry I missed your set at Porch Fest. I heard it was great. I can't answer any of those questions right now.
But how could you support something that you don't know what it's going to cost?
You could ask me that same question about how I support cleaning up the trash in the downtown. I'm not in there yet. I don't know what anything costs. I haven't dived in. I have a third-party petition to have an independent candidate run. And they both signed it, and the entire current council signed it, with the exception of Ed Zippert. She notarized it. What's that? I'm sorry. I apologize. To clarify. Michael, Jacqueline was the candidate. Angela signed it, and They missed the invite. Michael had signed it. So, and John, when they asked him, said, "Why did you sign this?" And John said, "Well, we were seeing a lot of Billy Portman signs around town, and we thought we were going to lose, so we decided to run a third-party candidate." He's pretty much said it on Facebook, and I think it's in the Red Bank Green if you go and take a look at it.
Excuse me, that's not.
I may be paraphrasing it incorrectly, but anyway, my point was, I never heard an explanation. If Jacqueline hadn't withdrawn her petition, or if it hadn't been found to be illegal, I think she would still be running as a third-party candidate, and then the Democrats would have been splitting the Democratic vote. We'd probably have a Republican mayor. My guess is Mark Taylor would have chosen to run for mayor at that point, and it was splitting the Democratic vote. So I still haven't heard of it. I think they would still be running as independents if that had happened. So, yeah, that's all. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so as you can see, we always have lively nights here at the Candidates Night. So, thank you, Billy Portman, for coming and being here and answering questions. I hope you'll be able to stick around and for people to be able to chat with you or exchange phone numbers as needed so that you can make contact with people who might want to talk to you in more detail about something. So just for people who came in late, and as I promised, I would go through the rules again, rules of the road here, is that we're going to have the 4 council candidates come up right now. We have name tags for them, so we will put them over the edge, depending on where they decide to sit. They're going to sit a little spaced out, just because we're trying to be as safe and conscious as we can. In the COVID world that we live in. You can sit in any place that you decide to choose. If you put your name tag over the top, that would be good. Okay. So the rules of the road again are, in this case, each of them gets 3 minutes to open and 3 minutes to close. They each pulled out, I did numbers, folded over numbers that said openers and closers, 1 through 4, and they picked those. And that's the order that they're going to be speaking. It's going to be the same for the closer. They pick the number, whatever the number they got is the number that they'll do their closer. Okay? There'll be about 45 minutes of Q&A because there's more candidates. And because there are more, multiple candidates, again, it's really important for people to ask questions succinctly. Don't make a speech. It's very important for the candidates to answer succinctly. You can direct a question to a particular person, but I do give people an opportunity, other candidates an opportunity, if they want to make a remark about that question, I do give people that opportunity. And I'll give people a little bit of leeway, as I did with Amy Humphrey. I gave her a little bit of leeway to kind of ask a second question. I might give a little leeway for the candidates here, but I will at some point, as I have done already, cut people off, whether it's the candidates or the people in the audience, just to keep moving along. Okay? Again, the other part of the rule is, as I sweep back and forth across the room, if you are a committee member, a committee leader, from a party, or you're a elected official, I would ask you not to ask a question. I'm asking you to self-regulate yourself and not ask a question. You have access to the candidates in other ways. You can ask those questions. We really want people from the audience who are either business people in town or residents and voters in town. Is that good? Everybody good? And for some people who are up high, like what Mary Beth did, or people behind me, I don't see you, and you kind of start waving just to make sure that I catch you. Please do that. It's okay. So I appreciate you doing that. All right. Are we good? Everybody good? Everybody have a seat if they want a seat. There's some more space up here. Okay, good. So we have, everybody have their numbers? Everybody feeling ready? You're comfortable? Okay. I will keep time with my stopwatch. You want your sign up? No? You want me to get your sign up? Oh, that's Billy's. Okay. All right. Can everybody see their faces, or should we put their tags down below? Everybody's good? Okay. Just want to make sure everybody can see. All right. All right. So who's number one? Okay. There's a mic. You're going to pass that mic between you guys? Is that right? Is that what you're going to do?
If Angela's interested, mind using this mic, because John will use his own, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. It's been 7 years since I was at this event. I ran for council, as you may know, 2015. My name is Mark Taylor. Probably should have started with that. But I'm known to many of you in the room. Some friendly faces, some not. But that's okay. This is Red Bank. We all have differing opinions on some things, and I'm sure I impressed some people and others not so much. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, Amy, for doing this yet again for the 27th year. This is a critical opportunity for the residents, for the voters in Red Bank, the business owners, and the stakeholders here to meet the candidates, get to know them beyond just faces on mailers and names on signs around the town. I've lived in Red Bank my entire life. 39 years old. I grew up on the east side. My parents still live in the house I grew up on. Mom and Dad, how are you? I lived on Bridge Avenue when I ran for council last time, and I just bought a house on Tilton Avenue 2 years ago. So I'm invested here. I have 2 young children, one 4 years old, and my daughter was born less than a month ago. So I don't necessarily need to be here right now. I have other things I'd like to be doing, spending time with my family. But this environment in Red Bank has gotten so unbelievably toxic that we needed a change. And I was really proud to serve, to be elected yet again to the Charter Study Commission, and the recommendation that we put forward, I believe will genuinely bring Red Bank into a new era where this divisiveness and just dysfunction that we're seeing currently will have an opportunity to change that for the better. And I agree with Billy. I do think the referendum will pass. We're out there supporting it. Our signs say vote yes at the top of our signs. The first thing we care about, the only thing we want to see happen in November, other than get elected ourselves, is that the referendum passes. Because I do think that is fundamentally good for Red Bank. So beyond that, I don't need to say much more. Hopefully everybody knows me. And if not, I look forward to meeting you after. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to start by thanking Amy for organizing and moderating. I want to thank you all for being here, especially with the Yankees on. I know you've made a sacrifice. If anybody wants to flash me some scores.
Can't really hear you. Yeah, hold the mic up. Thanks, appreciate it.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better, thanks.
And I want to thank our opponents for being here. It's important that we all get a chance to speak, and I know there's a lot of feelings out there, and we're all going to get to them with the questions. I want to thank God for giving me good health and the courage and good fortune to be able to run for office in this town. I want to thank my wife. I know as a proud Democrat, it's not easy for you to watch me run for office a second time. And I want to thank you for granting me permission to do so. I like to think of our household as a microcosm for nonpartisan form of government. Namely, you're always right. I want to thank Mark, as Mark kind of alluded to. To be honest, we didn't have a plan to run for office, to put forth candidates this year. But after the primary and after the chaos that ensued, we felt we had a duty to give people an alternative. And maybe being a Republican is a deal breaker for you, maybe it's not. But I felt, and I'm glad Mark is here with me, to give people a smart alternative. A little bit about me. I've been an attorney for 11 years. My last 3 have been spent at a major insurance company. They don't like it when I say my name, but they have a lizard as their mascot. I have real estate and family law experience as well, and I think my experience handling complex insurance and real estate issues will make me ideal for council. But mostly I think my experience as an advocate for individuals is a skill set I will bring most to Red Bank Council. You know, I want to bring people's concerns to the council and put them forward. I live on Prospect Avenue with my wife, and we've lived there for 7 years. We have a dog, Eddie. This is the town we've chosen to start our family. I grew up in Lincroft, and Red Bank has always been the cool place that I wanted to come to. My father's worked there for 35 years in Riverview. My wife works there now, and I can't think of any place better or anywhere else I'd rather be. And right now, this town faces a lot of challenges. We have the challenges of a suburb, we have the challenges of a city, and right now we face a crisis of leadership. We've had a chance now to reset Red Bank and move it forward with a new form of government. When I'm elected, I look forward, and by the way, question 1 is going to win, and it's the right vote. And when I'm elected, I look forward to being a good steward for the 6 months, helping the government take over and making sure that everything's done the right way. I want to thank you, and I look forward to answering all your questions.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mirandi. I'm a councilwoman here in Red Bank. And I also want to thank Frank Brewery for hosting the event and Amy for volunteering and to be the moderator. Also to remind everybody, there's another debate on Saturday at 3 p.m. I think there were some flyers out so that you can send in questions. So I hope everybody joins in with that as well. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. So I am a lifelong New Jersey resident. I was born in Newark, and my family moved to Freehold when I was 6. I went through the public school system, graduated from Freehold Borough, and after that I worked and put myself through college, and I graduated from, it was Rider College then, now it's Rider University, with a degree in accounting. After I passed my CPA exam and had some time and saved some money, I moved to Red Bank. I rented an apartment on Maple Avenue, and I was there for, I don't even know, 5-6 years. But I loved Red Bank. And then I saved money and bought my first house in the year 2000, and I've been there since. So I am been living in Red Bank more than I was in Freehold. So what I'd like to do is, I'd like to talk about some misinformation that's out there, right? So there's a lot of things being said, unfounded, ridiculous, about me, right? So I'm just a regular resident who wanted to get involved, and I thought I'd come and speak because I was a little concerned about the event venue. This was the first time we had it here. So I just was younger, and even now to an extent. I was never and am still not part of a political committee here in Red Bank. It was when I bought my house, I started to follow the budgets and the impact on my taxes. I would attend some council meetings, planning and zoning meetings when big development started, and there was the talk of building that large garage on White Street. But it wasn't until the past few years when I really started to pay close attention on what was going on in this town, and I didn't like what I was seeing. The same story that you're hearing from everyone else. It just didn't start. It's been going on for a while. I spoke out about constant tax increases, which were averaging 5% a year since 2017. And then there was the whole senior center fiasco in 2019. I joined the movement to get the senior center addressed and spoke at a rally in March of 2021. And this was the first time I ever was introduced to Ed Zickrich. So regarding all the misinformation and unsupported allegations out there, I feel it's important for me to point it out. Also, when there was an opening on council, I reached out and I said that I wanted to be considered as a candidate because I thought my 30 years of corporate experience, which includes finance operations, strategic planning, would be an asset to the borough, and I could help bring some business structure and civility to the council.
You're at time. Can you
Okay, I can wrap it up real quick. I was a concerned resident, just like your everyday Red Bank resident, who wanted to make positive change. Regardless of the mudslinging tactics and lies that are being spread, my objectives then and now is only to do the right thing for the people of Red Bank. All of Red Bank. Thank you.
to Mr. Portman.
Well, you're taking your time. If you decide to make a rebuttal to Portman, it's in your time. Okay, that's the way it works.
One of the reasons that I cited when I spoke with Billy on the phone about, at the time, not being able to get behind him as a candidate and sign that petition was that as a mayoral candidate, he had no platform. At the time, he said as much in a Red Bank Green interview, and you heard echoes of that tonight. Since then, he has been elected by the people, and he is running as a Monmouth County Democrat. And as you'll see by the sign in my front lawn, I endorse him as a candidate, and I support him as a candidate, and a Democrat as the mayoral candidate. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Jackson. Thank you to Amy Goldsmith, to the Westside Community Group, and to Triumph for holding this event. Thank you, everyone who attended this evening, as well as our supporters. I am a single parent of a 23-year-old beautiful daughter who is just finishing up her college career. I raised her on my own after adopting her when she was 8 years old. Moved to Red Bank 5 years ago, and I'm here tonight to give you as residents another opportunity to see who I am and what I'm about as a candidate, because both issues and character should determine who is worthy to take office, not the issues alone. My run for office is and has always been driven by my desire to be involved in our community. It's not due to political ambitions, nor anyone else's agenda. More specifically, I am running, like Billy, as a Monmouth County Democrat because, quite simply, my personal values completely align with the Democratic Party. I firmly support equal representation and expanding, not limiting, personal freedoms. That's why I'm also a member of the Human Relations Advisory Committee. I believe everyone deserves the best chances of happiness and success, which is how my own daughter came to be a part of my life. And I believe everyone has the absolute right to keep living in a community that they've grown up in and love, and they shouldn't be forced out because too many new buildings, too many new expensive buildings are going up. As a resident, homeowner, and candidate, I offer voters a deep commitment to community balanced by a passion to do what's right. As an individual, this integrity has always fueled me, whether it's supporting good causes, volunteering, or marching to ensure that people's rights are preserved. These have always been my beliefs. I am my own person, and what I think, what I do, and the decisions I make, even if it includes signing a petition, are my own. To these points of integrity and individuality, I'd like to address my opposition, my fellow candidates. And I'd like to address the insults that have come at me and my running mate Angela from them in their mailers that they've sent out to this town. In the piece, they speak of honor and integrity, and then they sling mud on the other side of that same piece. Simultaneously, they promise to end the chaos. Well, I am challenging them to do just that, here, now, tonight. Let's raise the standard of Red Bank politics, and let's not wait to practice that decorum. Let's start tonight with this debate. I'm hoping they'll agree and not say one thing, yet do another. Thank you.
Thank you to all the candidates for being pretty close to time. Again, the rules are we're going to go back and forth across the room. We got all the candidates, right? Everybody got to say something. One year I forgot somebody. And they come like, remember me? So I just want to make sure I got everybody. So again, we're going to sweep back and forth. We're going to start over here first because we started over here. We're going to be at this for a little while. So if I come and sweep across and you didn't have a question then, but you have one later, I may come back to you if we have time. We're going to have about 45 minutes. So it'll go fast, so I really encourage people to ask the same questions so we can get answers. And also because there's some opportunity for multiple candidates to answer, it will all take, some time, all right? Try and think of different questions. Don't keep asking the same question in a different way, just so we can get to more topics. That makes sense? Again, elected officials cannot ask questions. County members can't committee members can't ask questions, and party leaders. We good? Okay. So I'm gonna start over here. You three are gonna use that mic, and then we'll just use this mic between us. Okay? And we're gonna start over here, all the way over here. Is there a question? Is there a question over here? Is there a question over here? Just hold on 1 second. Any questions over here? I'm gonna do the middle. I'm gonna do the middle, then I'm gonna come to the back, okay? So right here, did you have a question? Yeah? You have a question in the back. Right, no? Okay, hold on to your question, okay? So you got one question here, and I'm going to a third person over here, okay? So just so you know the order. All right. So we're going to start with you in the middle. Could you please, yes, you, Jordan. Please get up and just say what street you're on. And if you want to direct the question to a particular person, you may. But remember that other candidates might also want to respond. Okay.
My name is Georgina Shanley, and I live on Harding Road, Red Bank. And this question is for Jonathan, since I just met him tonight. Governor Murphy has climate goals 2030 to reduce emissions by 50%, and in 2050 to have 100% clean energy. How are you going to follow these goals locally with specific actions in Red Bank? Like, what are you going to do to make sure that it's in sync with what Murphy is saying? And remembering that sea level rise in New Jersey, along the coast, is going to be 12 inches in 2050. So,
did everybody hear the question? All right, can you repeat the
Yeah,
question
so,
before you
yeah,
answer?
absolutely. Told myself I was going to stay seated for most of the debate, but I think it's easier if I stand.
Hold the mic up close.
Sure. So you're asking me if I'm going, what can I do as a council member in Red Bank to support Governor Murphy's initiatives?
On climate change.
On climate change, sure. Well, if this is state mandated laws, you know, the attorney in me is only going to want to carry out those laws. It's not up to a borough to overtake state law. I mean, obviously we have a lot of leeway on council to do certain things for the borough, but if something's coming from the top down from the state, I don't see why I would fight it or do anything that would not be in sync with his initiatives.
but specifically related to Red Bank, what are you planning to do?
Do you have a specific example of what you would do to make
Well, I'd have to know Governor Murphy's plans better, but I don't know why I would contradict any mandate coming from the state government, and that's not our role. So I would, if it's any state law, I would make sure that Red Bank was in sync with.
Okay, so does any other candidate want to make a comment? Okay, so pass the mic, and then we'll go to the next question.
No, I think that's a very good important question. Just recently, we passed a very comprehensive flood management plan in Red Bank. Years back, I think we've put through an initiative to be 100% clean energy by 2030. The one thing I would say about that is I would like to see how we're doing reaching those goals and hitting those benchmarks to get there. There's a lot of things that we can do here in Red Bank, and I work up in North Jersey, and in Woodbridge, probably going back a decade, they had solar panel streetlights. You know, I mean, I think that was something that they did, and I think everybody knows how big Woodbridge is compared to Red Bank. That was a big undertaking. I think we need to upgrade our electric grid because we want people. And a lot of people are going to electric cars, so we have to be able to have that infrastructure to support it. You know, another thing that I thought, and I asked years back, was when we're replacing our vehicles, why aren't we replacing them with electric? And I think probably the easiest place to start would be parking enforcement. You see it throughout the whole country and across the world that, you know, parking enforcement, they have those electric vehicles. And not only does it save money and it's good for the environment, but they're also smaller, right? Which also helps with your parking issues. So I think there's many things that we can do and have a plan. But we also need to start putting away funding to actually get these things done.
You want to say something?
Yeah, if you don't mind. So when I was on the council, I was liaison to the Environmental Commission, and I picked up where Kathy Horgan had left off in getting the Sustainable Jersey initiatives moved forward. We accomplished bronze in my first year, and set us on the path towards silver, which we accomplished, I believe, the next year. So that, those are those small things you do. You look at the lights in Borough Hall, the lights in DPU, the way you can take small changes, climate change is a big topic, but you've got to take the small steps first, and we started doing that a number of years ago. I believe an electric car was donated to the borough, or at least there was an overture of a donation. I'm not sure where that ended up, but certainly electric vehicles for our fleets and making those types of improvements, something I've supported in the past and will continue to do so in the future. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna move to the next. You okay? Move on? Okay. So we're gonna move to the next question. So you're the next question, then Steve, and then is there another question on this side of the room? Anybody on this side of the room? Okay. You have one? Okay, so go ahead.
So my question, and I have to tell you, I was extremely disappointed that a person who's never met me before called me hostile because I put the word taxes in all caps.
What's the question?
Taxes. For the two of you who've been on council, what did you do to reduce taxes, manage taxes, keep spending in control? And for the two who have not been on council, what are your vision and what are your plans to start to get the taxes in this town under control? And also, just to say, we need better decorum in this town. To call a resident hostile because they put the word taxes in all caps is really disgusting.
It's not a question.
I'd like to hear
not
what
a
your,
question.
I already
Hold
said,
on, she did ask a question. Her question was
the
about
question is
taxes.
about taxes.
So, John, would you like to start, or who would like to
Sure,
start?
did you address the council,
Everybody.
council members first?
So the first, the two who've been on council, what you either you've done or going to do, and the ones who haven't been, what are you going
Right,
to do?
so it doesn't matter the order, it's just directing the question to you. Go ahead.
So, I'm new to council. I've only been on since the beginning of the year, and I ended up walking into being the chair of the finance committee. So it was my responsibility to make sure that the budget was put through. So going into that, it took time to get caught up and try and understand everything, all the finances, but the one objective that I had was, if we have not delivering anything to the residents, I felt that there was no reason just to increase taxes. Because over the past 6 years or so, the average increase was 5%, and I don't think we showed, or I didn't, as a resident, I didn't feel like I was getting much for it. With that being said, I think there's many measures to become more efficient in our government. We have to look and starting it with goals, right? I mean, our departments should have goals and objectives. It's very simple. And these objectives should be around looking at ways to be more efficient, ways to identify more revenue sources, ways of cutting costs. I mean, this is something that I've done in my career, my whole career. And that's what I love to do, is to find ways to be more efficient and save money. And when we do that, we might not necessarily be able to lower taxes if we have these big projects, but that'll come out of a vision plan and a strategic plan. But at least I can sit here and tell you what you're getting for your money.
Okay, who'd like to go next?
Obviously, taxes are a preeminent issue in Red Bank. I don't believe the municipal tax rate has ever gone down in my lifetime. Maybe before I was born. It was more steady. When I was on the council, we did have a zero, actually the year before I took over on the council, Linda Schwabenbauer, as the chair of the finance committee, passed a zero municipal tax increase that year. So, it can be done. And Linda was a Republican on the council. Her personal politics probably being much more Democratic if you ask her, but she ran as an R, so that's what it is. The subsequent years that I was actually on the council and we had municipal tax increases, I voted against that budget. I said no to that. I said the taxpayers deserve better, and I will do the same. I'll hold us accountable. And I actually agree with you, Angela, that it starts with strategic vision, it starts with planning, and the departments need to be held accountable. And if we transition to a new form of government, a manager will do just that. They will be the CEO of Red Bank. They will hold the department heads and their budgets accountable so that the council can go, here's where the money went, here's what we're spending, here's what our debt is, and by the way, it is good to have debt. It's actually good. Municipal rates you can borrow very, very effectively as a municipality. So too much debt obviously is bad for anybody, but some debt is good for a municipality. So I will continue to hold us accountable, not only as the council, but as the department heads and the council manager take effect in July.
And then we'll finish with John, go to the next question.
One thing I just want to add is,
Hold up the mic, please.
sorry. One thing I just want to add is there's been a lot of dormant, expensive projects around town, many of which need big money improvements. And as long as they are mired in the waiting period, where nothing gets done and more consultants are brought in and more money spent on consultants and reviews. I mean, nobody spends money on reviews like Red Bank. And if you keep voting for the same leadership and members of the same leadership team, you're going to get the same results, and the tax rate's not going to budge. You need people who are going to get into council and go on plans that fit the master plan, that attack these big projects that have been sitting, DPW, Borough Hall, Senior Center, Marine Park. Time to go. And if we keep paying consultants and you keep paying for reviews, that doesn't do any of us any good. It just, that class of consultant, they're ones who take our money and we don't get the benefit. So that's one of the most important things we can do when we're on.
Okay, John, and then we'll move to the next question.
So probably the only one way I will ever admit to being a conservative is as a fiscal conservative. As I mentioned, I'm a single parent of a college-age daughter, and I'm a homeowner, so believe me, I know how to stretch a buck. So one way that we could look at either lowering taxes or stabilizing taxes is to look at either enforcing or looking at new revenue streams. One of the issues that's come up in council recently is Airbnbs. I don't know if you've heard about it or are familiar with it, but are we collecting fees on those Airbnbs? Such as like a pillow tax, as would be collected on a hotel. So as council members, we should be brainstorming and workshopping, looking at new revenue streams to generate revenue for the town, either keeping taxes down. As Mark mentioned, our taxes are going to go down, no, but the goal is to stabilize them. The goal is to stabilize them, and as you're, because as you know, one of mine and Angela's core platform issues is fiscal responsibility. Spend wisely. Spend what we need to spend, not what we want to spend.
Okay, I think it's Steve. Good.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Maybe you need a mic.
Well,
Okay.
I believe that all of you are smart, and I believe that all of you have the best interests of Red Bank at heart. Every one of you.
That's true. Thank you.
Two of you, however, have said a couple of things.
You need to turn the mic off while
Yes,
while you're not
it
using
is
it.
off.
Oh, it is?
It's not the
It's
same.
yours. Speaker changers.
I come here tonight.
Right, sure you ask a question. Okay, get focused.
I'm going to ask my question. I come here tonight to figure out who to vote for, and in order to do that, I need to know something about you as people and how you think. And so I want to ask the two candidates from the Democratic Party. This forum was deemed by you to be inappropriate, and there was a suggestion, at least, that the moderator would be less than honest and less than forthright. I haven't finished my question. Less than neutral. So I want to know from the two of you, what changed your mind, and when did your mind change?
So in the beginning, you know, the League of Women Voters was organizing the debate. And then Amy had contacted us later. And honestly, I don't think we've ever had a debate in a bar, and I still don't believe it's really the appropriate setting. I'm sorry?
Why are you here?
Okay, I was gonna
Go ahead, let her
get
answer the
past.
question.
So I'm explaining why I didn't think it was appropriate. Plus, we had the other event set up already. So then, what happened was, I started seeing some of this information that our opponents were putting out, and blatant lies, and just unsubstantiated garbage. And I thought, well, I think it's the best thing to do is to come here, which is more of an unstructured format than what'll be the debate on Saturday, and talk to the people of Red Bank and let you decide what you think of your candidates. Because I think it's despicable, quite honestly, the tactics being used. I mean, we're supposedly all just trying to do the better thing, the best for Red Bank. There's no reason for that kind of behavior. It's not civil. So that question, what this forum would be like tonight. But so far, so good. So, this is our test for having a debate in a bar. And so I'm glad I came. I'm here for the residents. That's why we're here.
John, would you like to add something to that, and then I'd like to move on?
Yes, I absolutely will. So when I initially communicated with Amy and her husband, Ben, Steve, the word I used was neutral, because I didn't in any way want to impugn her principles. You're well aware of the divisions that have gone on in our party in the past couple of years. Let's be honest about it. And Ben Forrest is an elected member of the Democratic Municipal Committee. And quite honestly, they have failed to endorse us. So I wanted what I felt was a neutral venue and a neutral moderator. It is in no way a reflection on Amy Goldsmith. When did we change our mind? Pretty much this past weekend. We had been agonizing over showing up or not, but as Angela mentioned, what definitely lit a fire under us was that mailing from our opposition, as well as the social media attacks that have been happening. We just simply could not stand for people to hear one side of the story. We needed to come here and represent ourselves and let people know what we're about in our own words. And to Angela's point, it has been a great experience this evening so far. Everyone's been very respectful, so thank you all for that.
Okay.
If by social media posting and public officials ducking public meetings and the opportunity to face the residents, then yeah, I stand by that all day. I'm glad we changed your income. Thank you.
Okay, so hold on. So, no, that's okay. No, we were going on to the next question. So I think, Chris, you were in line, and then this gentleman right here. There's a question here. Anybody? I got it. Anybody up there? Okay. So I got 1, 2. Is there another gentleman up here? No. And then the 2 in the back. Okay? Chris?
I got a quick one just for Mark Taylor. Mark, one
Can you
reason.
stand up and say your name and what's
Chris
your name?
Havens, 111 River Street, Shrewsbury Leighton. One reason I like that you're running is because you live on the west side like I do, where we have traffic, pedestrian, I would say lighting, and hopefully some future open space issues. So what can you do to make the west side a little bit nicer?
Honestly, Chris, that's a great question. I have been a resident on the west side now since 2015. As I mentioned, I grew up on the east side, but the sides of the town are not the same. We talk a lot about one Red Bank and having this unity vision, but the west side gets neglected and has been for a long time. There's some initiatives for pedestrian safety that we've started to enact, which are great. But there's certain streets I won't take my daughter in a stroller. Frankly, there's some sidewalks I can't walk her down. And it's never more apparent than when you're door knocking how poor some of the conditions are. So I definitely think, and those are quality of life issues, right? That literally affects me every single day. I take my son out for a walk with our dogs. I have to avoid certain areas. It's ridiculous to me that this is a town that's so great. If you go anywhere outside of Red Bank, you see you live in Red Bank, people go, wow, I love Red Bank, what a great town. I say, well, come to my block, because it's not so great all the time. So I would love to see some of those quality of life issues be addressed. That would be a serious priority for me. And I think we need more attention put to the west side. It's been neglected for too long.
Does anybody else want to add something?
Sure.
I turned the hang of this at some point.
I think I turned it off.
Yes. I think I'm gonna get the hang of this at some point. Okay. No, the west side is a very important part of what's going on at Red Bank, and I would love to find a way to bring all the parts together. You know, I went to a council meeting a couple of years ago, and they were talking about initiatives to promote Red Bank, which is great, because we always want Red Bank to be a jewel and a place for people to come and a destination. But now the west side's becoming a little bit of a destination, and I'd like to help that out. I know we had our first ever Hispanic Heritage Month celebration on the west side this year. I know Councilman Trigiano and Councilwoman, I'm sorry.
Men have a lot of power, you can be there anytime.
And Councilman Ballard, I know that you also sponsored the event, and I want to say thank you as someone who's Mexican American. I was very happy to see us celebrate that for the first time. And I want to bring all three parts of Red Bank, downtown, east side, west side. And why do we have to, why does we break it down? And then too, door knocking on the west side too. It is, Mark alluded to this, it's funny how simple the issues are on the west side in terms of, can we get our lights, can we get a new light here on the street? Can we not get over-ticketed all the time if I put my car out for 2 seconds? You know, these are simple things, and we should treat the west side with more respect and use it to our advantage going forward.
Can I move on? You're all right? Okay. So I'm not going to always remember the order precisely, so I'm going to try and do it correctly. Here, we have two in the back, here, and here. And then we'll go over here, and then we'll go upstairs. Okay? Go ahead.
My name is Justin Bandello. I'm over at Shrewsbury Manor here in Red Bank. Been here since 10 years. I also want to echo what this gentleman said. I think everybody up here wants the best for Red Bank. I respect that. One of the things that Ms. Mirandi had mentioned and John had mentioned was that there's a lot of division here, and there's like some, crazy stories and stuff like that. And I definitely see that. I'm a free agent, so I don't really align Republican or Democrat. But what I'm really concerned about is the factionalism on the council right now, which I think is evident to everybody. And one of the things that I think would help to dispel that factionalism, if you're really trying to address it, is how you came into power in the council was kind of weird. And then there was a whole bunch of lawsuits that were really surrounding that. There was a lot of hubbub about it. Obviously, the Monmouth Democratic chair had basically, I don't want to say dissed, but basically sent rebuke letters to Ed Zipprich. But it seems like you guys keep aligning with Zipprich every single time, just like from an obstruction point of view. And I just really don't understand it. So my question is, like, maybe you can help me understand about like the thing with Billy Portman, like why all of a sudden there was like another candidate and it was a secret backroom deal with Zipprich as a notary, or just like, getting rid of great candidates.
Question, please.
So why is that? Like, why are you guys backroom dealing and only letting the mayor know, like last minute about some of these things, like the firing of Greg Cannon and everything?
Okay.
So yeah, it's all that backroom stuff is where the division comes from.
Which question, Ms. Corbett?
So I think the main question that I got from it is, why is the backroom dealing, and how did you kind of get into your position?
Yeah.
In his view was in the backroom.
Well, I'm just saying, like, what we only have what we read publicly in red, green, and everything else, and that's what we're seeing. And I want to understand exactly what the lay of the land is, because obviously Mark's going to attack. Mark invited me tonight. I don't align Republican or Democrat, but I want to know what's up.
And I'll take the first one in the beginning. I mean, I explained why I wanted to be on council.
Sure.
I mean, I've only been on since the end of February, something like that. It's not a long time. I was never involved in Red Bank politics. But like everybody that you've heard, when I did pay attention, I didn't like what I saw. I thought the people sitting up there were supposed to be my voice, my eyes, my ears as a resident in this town, and I didn't think that was happening. I saw the prior administrator that we had not only be rude to other people on council, but to the actual public and to myself, and I thought that's ridiculous. I'm paying this guy's salary, and he was so arrogant. But I'm not gonna get into that. So those were the things that got me very crazy. So then the senior center happened, and there was no transparency really in the council of what was going on. It was kind of, you asked questions, you never got full answers, sometimes you never got any answers at all. So that's how I got involved. So then when the opportunity came open and that seat was there, it was my decision as a resident of 30 years almost that I did want to get involved and make a positive change. I didn't know Ed. I told you, I met him the year prior, but I wanted to be involved. And as far as backroom deals, I'm not sure what you mean with backroom deals.
Well, the whole thing around the mayor with Billy Portman, all of a sudden, like, there's a last minute candidate, people aren't letting anybody know, you know, it's different,
Well,
just like signing notary.
All right.
So the mayor,
Hold on. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm not sure what you mean. I don't understand the question.
I just
We're
tried to
talking
clarify.
about the Sturtevant petition, you're not answering the question how you came to your seat, which was also challenged legally.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear that answer too. Thank you.
He was asking.
I did answer that.
No, you asked why you got there, not
around.
how you got there.
Okay, I'm not in charge or responsible for whatever happens with these committees. All I said is that I wanted to be considered a candidate.
So tell
What
us about that
happened after
process.
that is
No,
beyond my
I'm gonna-
control.
Okay, I'm gonna cut a little bit here, because we're gonna
Sure.
take
So-
up a little bit too much
I just
time.
wanted to know that process.
So as far as the
Go ahead.
petition, and I put it out there on Red Bank Green, I think it was Red Bank Green and Tab, somebody asked me that question. And I said, that petition was signed before the election. And like, it was, why are you laughing?
I know it was.
Okay, it was before the election, and the reason why I signed it was exactly what was said before. Billy was walking around with a campaign that he wasn't gonna really be mayor. It was all temporary. He had no plan, he had no vision, he wasn't gonna stick around. So then, on the other hand, you had a woman who had a 10-point vision plan, who wanted to do things for Red Bank and had a purpose, right? I mean, so then after the election, when it was a unanimous decision, I respected the voters.
You already had a candidate.
All right, so,
Didn't
hold
David Brown say it was
hold on,
illegal?
hold on,
That's
please,
not what he's asking.
please.
Sure,
You're gonna have to
sorry.
hold on, okay? Mark, would you like to make a
I
comment?
would.
And then I'd like to, if we can, move on. I think you were
Sure.
very clear with your response.
No, I'm just curious, as a resident who saw this going on, again, reading it from afar, not understanding the process. I'm a Red Bank County Committee member for the Republican Party. We do things the right way. We hold a meeting, we all get in the room, we say, here's the candidate we're proposing, here's multiple candidates we're proposing, we take a vote. Okay? If that person prevails versus somebody else, that's the candidate. That is a crappy system, I'm not gonna lie. But that's the system we have currently, and that's the system I'm looking to change. What's not being addressed by Ms. Mirandi is how she got her position, the candidate selection process, and she's also maybe not understanding the question about why she signed a third-party candidate when you already had a candidate from your party.
Thank you, Mark.
I'd like to hear that answer as well. Perhaps somebody else in the audience would
You
too.
wanna make a quick response
I
to
think
that,
I
and
did
then I'm gonna
explain
move
why
on.
I signed that petition.
All right.
I don't think it could be any clearer than that. And as
Okay.
far as the other process, that was I did what I did because I wanted to be a candidate and be seen as I wanted to be involved.
If you're
What
having-
happens from that point on in your committees, that wasn't my control.
All right, so she answered the question, we're gonna move on, okay?
We're just really okay.
Okay, you're gonna move on, all right?
She's happy with that answer.
Yeah, it's fine. So we have two in the back, here, and then I'm gonna go upstairs. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Thea Chancio. I'm on East Bergen Place in Red Bank since 2004. And before that, I had a home on Hudson. And so, I'm just kind of watching and listening, and I just can't get past, Mark, what you said about, being respectful and really handling, the whole debate and the back forth with Angela and John. And so the other day, getting these mailers in the mail, I'm still like I just can't believe that this day and age, you're standing or sitting up here and you're snickering and you're being arrogant in my view.
I need a question, okay?
And I'm gonna answer, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. And I guess sending out mailers about being puppets, right? That's not me, so here's the question.
Thank you.
How are you going to govern, be on council, get along with everybody, coordinate, collaboration is such a big part of any kind of, whether it's government or work situation, corporate, and you can't even really maintain that here tonight. So how are you going to do that? And that's really the question that I like from the heart about integrity and truth. And it's just mudslinging and all of this stuff.
Okay,
That's
thank
the
you.
question.
I appreciate that question. I've already done it, to be honest. I've already been a council member. I've been a charter study commissioner. I've worked across the aisle. Well, this is a competition. I don't know if you guys know that. This is a competition. And the highest vote getter wins. And I was the highest vote getter in 2015, and I was the second highest vote getter, maybe third highest vote getter in charge study. So people like me. If you don't like me, that's fine. I'm still happy to work with you. I'm still happy to talk to you. I can still reach across whatever aisle you want to call it and build Red Bank together. Okay? So listen, if you're offended by the mailer, then I'm sorry.
In the same way that you're through these mailers and puppet comments and how you're acting tonight, is that how I should come to you as a resident of Red Bank and speak to you and think that I'm gonna get respect when you're not putting that out here tonight? Or these mailers,
Okay, hold on. I think you made your point. Okay.
I don't know
You
how
wanna
many you got,
respond?
but there was one mailer, so thank you for bringing it up.
Okay.
It's the same mailer.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's one mailer, and yes, we question the independence of these candidates. They have rarely, if ever, voted against Ed Zipprich on the council, and they are running in lockstep with Ed off the council. So they're trying to piggyback on Billy's success by using the same colored signs. I mean, that's kind of sad, but listen, I'm here, I am who I am, I can talk to you, I have worked across the aisle, I have friendships, I have relationships with people in town, and if you think that I'm being disrespectful, I apologize, that's not my intention, but I can work with people and I've already proven that. Thank you.
Do you want a very quick response?
Very
I'd like to move on.
Sorry, I keep trying to
Submarine me. Look, if you've been to any council meetings recently, you already know that it's not a civil place. The lack of civility is not new to tonight or to that mailer. It's been contentious, and it preceded the primary. The primary only made it worse, and I can't make it any more clear than that. I'm willing to work with anybody. I am trying to win. If I could just say very quickly, because I want to wrap this up.
Very quickly, please.
It's a great scene in It's a Wonderful Life where Jimmy Stewart is telling off Mr. Potter, and he's saying, we need the building and loan if just so there's some other place that we can go than crawl into Mr. Potter. Well, in this town, we go crawling to Mr. Zipprich, and it's about time that we change that. And I don't know how someone like Ms. Mirandi, and this is not a personal attack, because I actually think you're doing a great job tonight. But I don't know how you can say that you want to change the town, and then you go to Ed Zipprich saying, I want to be one of your candidates. I mean, that's not how you make changes, to go to the party boss who's been around for years and years and been ineffectual. Luckily, we have, or whatever, luckily or unluckily, on your point of view, we have new party leadership on that side. But that's just my 2 cents. But thank you.
Did you want to say something, or do you want to move on? Okay, so I'm going to go in here, here, and here. Go ahead.
Cindy Barnum. Mr. Taylor, when you ran last time, you said to everybody, including myself, that you were going to spend less, borrow less, and develop less, and then you started spending, and the parking garage. You were pushing for the parking garage. So my question to you tonight is, are you for a parking garage?
we could have just had this conversation on Facebook. Actually, we already did. But thank you for coming. I appreciate your comments. I don't know the current climate in Red Bank as far as what the demand for parking is. I know we did a White Street streetscape and we got a whopping 10 spaces for $1 million. I'm not sure that was a good investment from an inventory standpoint. White Street looks fantastic, and I'm sure the business owners that have businesses on that street are appreciative of it. However, again, a garage was a public-private endeavor. It was tax-free. It was not going to cost the taxpayers any money. I still have the plans in my basement because they were that good. And if that issue ever comes forward again, I'll be happy to reconsider it at that point. I don't know what the current climate is as far as how businesses are affected, what the parking considerations are in a post-COVID world. We had a lot of concerns about we're all going to be driving electric cars in 5 years and 10 years. Well, we're not all driving electric cars. So I can't answer your question directly as far as a yes garage, no garage. It's simply a matter of what makes sense for Red Bank in the moment and looking forward.
Okay.
It's called strategic vision and planning.
Okay, so I'm gonna, no, unless it's something related to what you started. Different question? Okay, go ahead. You can, if it's related to the parking garage.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So, if you want to know what the climate is, you have to be active in town, and so, what are you laughing about, Mark? What's so funny?
You don't think I'm active in town? I'm sitting up here right now.
I don't know. I don't know if you're active in town.
So
But
That's
I'm
because I
just
moved away
saying,
from you.
I'm just saying, and I'm sorry I got you to run, because you turned out to be.
Hey, come on, guys.
What's your question?
My question is this, so you need to go around and ask people about the garage, and I was talking to Cliff Keane, who's the head of the DPW, and he said, we didn't need a parking garage, just FYI, because the East Street parking lot was used for construction, for staging, for the whole Broad Street, and we made out fine, so there's a little heads up for you.
Okay.
So there was not a question, so.
No, it wasn't. She's just making a.
I just made
Which
it.
is fine, which is fine. Okay,
Okay.
here, and then here, and then we go up. Go ahead.
I'm Les Taylor. I know Mr. Taylor up there better than the rest of you, but I'd like to ask John, and the others can answer. I know you, John, but not as much as I know him. For Mr. Jackson, what would you say are the two first or most important priorities, one or two, that you think we need to address in Red Bank now? And if the others of you want to answer that question as well, that's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for the question. I would say the two most pressing issues would be the state of the DPW, really addressing that facility, making sure that we get it, we rebuild it, repair it, get it out of disrepair. It's borderline dangerous right now. And the second is doing something about overdevelopment or runaway development, really making sure with that upcoming master plan that we align to it to a T, that the people who are serving on those planning and zoning boards are appointed and approved to align with that master plan, to stick to our ordinances, and as council members, we have to look at our current ordinances and evaluate whether they need to be updated, modified, etc., to make sure that things like, setbacks are appropriate, that density is within an ordinance, that parking allowance is within ordinance, because, you go to these, planning and zoning meetings, and we're getting these proposals that exceed ordinances constantly, and they have to be either declined or, turned around and revised. That shouldn't be happening. We should have a clear plan based on the master plan of here's what we can build, here's where. So because so the one is a short term, the DPW, let's get that fixed as soon as possible. The master plan, that's what our town is going to be for the next 20, 25 years. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to say anything at this time? Go ahead. Or you can take the other mic. Oh, that's right, I can't use that.
I think John is right. We've talked about DPW and we talked about it in the workshop, and it's something that hasn't been done. But I think something that is close to the heart to almost every resident that I've talked to, no matter what side, east side, west side, is public safety in our streets. we want to be a walkable town. We want people to ride their bikes, but everybody says the same thing. It's dangerous. There's speeding. There's not enough enforcement. There's not enough of mechanisms that are out there that we have for safe street crossings. That is something, safety should be our #1 priority, and it needs to be addressed because it's not getting better with the development in our town, but also the development around our town, because we all know that Red Bank is a cut through to the Parkway and 35. And to me, this is a #1 priority, is safety. All residents should feel safe, and they should be able to walk, and they should be able to ride their bikes. So we have to address that.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Just pass it down, please.
Yeah, for me, the number, top 2 issues are obviously,
Hold the mic up.
okay. In the next 5 minutes, I'm gonna learn how to use it.
It's like an ice cream cone.
The #1 priority for me is, again, I'm very optimistic about the question 1 and the reformation of the new government. And that is not something that is, just so everybody knows, that's not something that's born out of the political divide. That's something that was in the works for a long time. That's something that came out of a charter review. It was the #1 recommendation by the charter review as a way of fixing Red Bank and taking Red Bank forward. So that's as much, far more so, a governance issue than it is a political issue. And then I want to make sure that is stewarded the right way and it gets off on the right foot so there's no confusion. And then the second thing is these big projects, I've alluded to this again before, these big projects that have been sitting around, at least 4 that I can think of on the top of my head, they need to go. It's not time for more dialogue. It's not time for more consultants. It's not time for more spending. It's time to get things done.
Anybody else? Okay. So, you're good? Okay. So I'm going up to the top. Say your name, what street you're on.
Bruce Maida, Branch Avenue. I have a question for Mr. Taylor. In 2018, Sitting Councilwoman Kathy Morgan said in comments to Red Bank Read that nonpartisan elections would be cost prohibitive. Now, you claim yourself to be fiscally responsible, and you were on the Charter Commission. Why didn't the Charter Commission look at what this would cost us? It's a very important component of what your decision would be. And it wasn't, to the best of my knowledge, it wasn't looked into.
It was what? Sorry, was the
It wasn't looked into, the cost of this.
Well, you have to have elections and you have to have representative governments, and an election would cost. However, this is a future-looking seismic shift for Red Bank. The opportunity to change the form of government, to have a council manager form that will usher in new nonpartisan elections and less frequent elections, saving us money, is something that is, you can't just look at it in a minuscule, focused, head of a pin type of viewpoint. This is something that's going to change us for a generation and beyond. We've been a borough since 1908. It's an antiquated system. It doesn't work. We can all attest to that, having lived in this town the last 18 months. It's not working. We need to do something different. And if it costs us a couple more bucks, or if it saves us a couple bucks, that's really not the issue. The issue is how do we govern better? How do we make Red Bank a better town for all of our residents, all of our stakeholders, all of our businesses?
Hold on. All right, is there any other questions from the? Okay.
So I'm Meredith, I live on Branch Avenue, and my question is, it takes a little bit of setup, so I hope you'll just give me this.
I can't give you too much leeway because we're running out of time. So
Okay, so very briefly, what I'd like to know is with regard to honor and commitment to the truth. Mark, why weren't you honest with the people of Red Bank, especially the people in the public school community, about what went down with Housing Museum? And before you answer, remember, it was I, in January of 21, recommended that you get an auditor, and you didn't do anything at all. You guys all threw it off. Then in June of 21, Steve Heck said to me that Housing needed to be indicted, and I said, the people on the committee, the people on the foundation have got to do something. You got rid of Housing in July, but you did not go to the prosecutor until this year, and I know that because I talked to them. So where is the honor in having money stolen from kids? Where is the honor in covering it up? And where is the money?
Okay.
So, this is a council debate number one, and you're talking about a nonprofit education foundation, which I am the president of very proudly. I'm a representative of borough schools. I'm a proud graduate of the primary school, the middle school, and Red Bank Regional. So nobody's more invested in public schools than me, okay? When I became the president of the Red Bank Borough Education Foundation in February of 2021,
I know I'm a founder.
I'm sorry?
I'm a founder, I'm past president, I'm vested.
No, I'm aware. I'm just saying, I was not a board member until that point. And I've addressed this in a public response to Ed Zipprich's lies, which I know is penned by you, so that's fine.
Just hold on, just answer the
The
question.
answer is, when we noticed some anomalies with withdrawals that we could not rectify, we took action, we dismissed Hausman from the board, we made a recommendation. I called the police chief in Red Bank. I said, here's what I'm dealing with, what do I do? He said, I'm going to refer you to the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office. I immediately had a conversation with them that same week, and from there, the investigation began. So while you may be seeing charges filed this year, that investigation started because that takes time. It's called
No,
gathering
the
evidence.
prosecutor, you did not go.
Hold on. He's just answering
I'm answering your question.
Okay, he's just answering your question, so you'll just have to take whatever he gives you as his answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Good one.
Is there anything more you'd like to add to that? And otherwise, we'll move on.
The truth is, because of the evidence we provided, the cooperation we provided as a foundation, Hausman was indicted, he's criminally charged, and he is pending. We are seeking restitution for every penny that was taken. That's the best I can tell you, that is still pending.
All right. I'm sorry, it's just, I wanted to make sure they answered your question. So, okay. Okay. All right. So there's a question here? Okay. Go ahead. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Do you need a mic or you people out of it?
Well, if you can't hear me, I do.
We can't hear you. Yeah. Why don't you come up closer to here? You can use the mic. Thank you. Thank you for coming, for the people who are leaving now.
You can hear me. You're good.
I know that it's been asked about the bike safety and the scooters and all that sort of stuff. And, I'm Stephen Fenishow. I'm a transplant from Ocean City 2 years ago. There was a traffic safety study done, and it suggested that we should have one-way streets to facilitate bike lanes. Do you plan to act on this recommendation? And what we need, my big problem is with bike lanes, it's one thing to have a nice bike lane, but if you have cars parked in there, it makes it very, very dangerous. It's not realistic. And I ride my bike from where we live to the YMCA each day, and I have to say a little prayer each time I go out because it's scary.
Right, so why don't we get an answer from the candidates? Did you have it directed to a particular person, or you want everybody to answer?
Well, I think it's an issue that everybody
Okay.
should.
I agree.
All right, so does someone want to start?
Jackson, you want to take a shot? You got
Oh, you have your own mic. Go ahead.
So my understanding about that traffic study is that it was actually only for one portion of the town as opposed to, comprehensive to the entire town. So if they recommend one-way streets, it's something that I would be open to, with further investigation. I think there are actually a couple of streets in town that would be served to fully convert to a one-way, like the one right off of Broad where you've got that leads to the parking lot, it's got the do not enter, it's a one-way, then it's got a do not enter. So we definitely have some traffic flow challenges that I think that traffic study can inform. Cyclists and bike lanes are absolutely something that I would love to see added and instituted on a far broader scale in Red Bank. If there's any town that should be walkable and bikeable, it's Red Bank for sure. Will one-ways solve that completely? No, but I think it's an element, that can improve pedestrian safety. And then just to kind of build on that, to get, in addition to the cycling, the council was recently talking about and is considering the four-way stop signs. That's something that once it's instituted, we need to track that and say, okay, is this an effective measure to increase safety, to slow down drivers? Because the fact is, we can't count on drivers themselves to slow down. We need enforcement. We need ordinances. We need four-way stops, et cetera, et cetera. As legislators, we need to be the ones to take the action and really solve the problem as far as pedestrian safety.
Okay, does anybody else want to give a response, or you could also say ditto if you agree. But here, go ahead.
Were you referring to a recent study or an older study?
Last year.
So John Jackson was right. That only looked around certain areas within Broad Street, not throughout the whole town. But there is a complete street program that was done, that was mentioned before, that will be incorporated into the master plan, which has a larger scale vision on how it will get implemented throughout Red Bank. But like I said before, there's something we could do now, and it doesn't really cost us anything, and that's more enforcement. Less warnings, more tickets.
Yeah, no, this is a great question. I lived on Ridge Avenue for 6 years. It's one of the few streets that's has dedicated bike lanes that are not in the parking space. Simply by the virtue of that street is wide enough. We're an old town. We have a lot of narrow streets. We have two-sided parking. Frankly, we have a lot of large vehicles that park on the streets that effectively make two-way streets into one-ways in a lot of areas. I live on Tilton, like I said, and if I come around Catherine and it's double parked, if somebody's coming towards me, we're playing chicken. So having a dedicated bike lane in that scenario is just not feasible. So while it's a great concept and it's desirable, you have to deal with the map as it's laid out. The complete streets, is certainly something we need to implement. When I tried to get a master plan together when I was on the council, it got shot down for political reasons. I'm glad they're doing it now. I'm really happy to see that we're going to have a vision for the future. So yeah, the more we can incorporate that, that's certainly wonderful. But again, we're dealing with limitations. We just have to be realistic. You can shut into the ether all you want. That we need, bike lanes. They don't always work because they don't physically work. So, we need to identify areas of town where we can incorporate them safely, address pedestrian concerns as well. So you have to take it as a mixed bag, because that's what it is. Red Bank's a mixed bag.
Anything else? You want to move on?
Other than I like bicycles.
All right. So we had a question here. We're going to come along here. Go ahead. Just say your name and what street you're on.
My name is Adrian Bilal. I'm on South Pearl Street. I just want to give a little background, my experience, and this is my opinion. All through the pandemic, when we had our former business administrator, this is when all of this stuff started. He was so disrespectful, and the way he talked to the residents, it made me feel like he was dictating to us instead of us asking him to do what he needed to do. And then it reflected onto the council. I don't think the government is broken. It was the people who were sitting on it. If you think about that whole time during the day, nothing was done. They bickered back and forth. Nobody was listening to each other. And it was all about a power struggle. So my question to you, because you guys weren't on it, hopefully when you're elected, can you see yourselves being civil to each other, working with each other, listening to each other, and not have me listen to a council meeting and have you bickering for 5-10 minutes over things that should not be happening? I think that's the problem. Individuals who execute what they're supposed to be doing. You work for us. You have to listen to us and work with us and work together and bring this whole town together. So what are you going to do to bring something that's positive and effective to our council meeting in Red Bank?
Thank you for your question. So, okay.
You want to go first? Sure.
Okay. And then
Adrian, thank you very much, and thank you for challenging us and demanding as a citizen what we should be providing you as sitting council members or as future council members. I've been a 25-year professional in the pharmaceutical advertising industry. I'm accustomed to working with teams of people. Sometimes you like them, sometimes you don't. But the fact is, you've got a job to be done, and you've got to get that job done. You have to figure it out, you have to align, you have to unify, and you have to get the job done. I promise I will do that. I promise I will keep people like you in mind that we are working for you. You know, that I'm there to do a job. I'm there because of you, and I want to stay there and serve because of you. So that is my promise. I stand up here today and say, if you choose to elect me, Red Bank, I will work with whoever is sitting up on that dais with me. I'll use a small example of when I walked in this room this evening. Obviously, we have opposition, but I went up to each gentleman and shook their hand. That is how I operate. This, we have to have civility. We have to show that respect to one another. If I want it from you, I have to show it to you. Thank you.
They say politics starts at home, so obviously my wife and I have just drag out political fights all the time. I have no issue working with anybody. As an attorney, you spend a lot of time prosecuting things and defending things that in your heart, maybe you think are wrong or right, but it's your job to advocate for who you need. And my job as counsel is to advocate for you. And one thing I would like to do is make council meetings a little more warm. A friend of mine told me that sometimes, not that it's maybe the most civil thing, but in California, sometimes hundreds of people show up to council meetings. And we have council meetings and like 7 people show up. I'd like to make that a much more welcoming space. I'd like to have coffee and donuts and interpreters available, like we have in depositions with foreign language translators. I want to bring as many people into the debate as possible. The more that things happen in the open, the better the results are going to be. It's one of the reasons why question 1 is so important. Bring more people in rather than backward decisions. But I can work with anybody. I do it every day. And I look forward to it. And I look forward to advocating for you and for anybody else's concerns. You can applaud.
In lieu of a quick ditto, again, I've done it before. Adrian, I've worked with you on the Parks and Rec Committee, previously as resident and again as a liaison, as a council member. Again, I've lived in this town my whole life. It's about relationships. And yeah, John and I are attorneys, and it's an adversarial, career. But at the end of the day, we both are civil litigators. 99% of cases settle because you find compromise. You have to work together with people who are diametrically opposed to you to find reasonable ground. And so I commit to that for Red Bank, as I've done before, I'll do in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think I said in my opening that was the whole reason why I started looking and getting involved in paying attention to what was going on in town, because it was appalling to me. It really was. And I was on the other end of his rudeness. So I thought it was also concerning to me that this was happening in the governing body. Nothing was said to him. Council people just sat there and just let him talk to residents, being so rude and disrespectful. But again, I've only been on council for a short time, and I'm not part of that circus. That's not why I'm there. I treat with everybody with respect and civility every day of my job, and I do that on council. So when there's distractions and obstructions on council, you need to look now where it's coming from. If you really want to do what's right for Red Bank, then you'll be willing to work with everybody and anybody. And then that's it. It's the people. It's absolutely the people.
Okay, so we're at 8, hold on one second. We're at 8:45. Okay, this is the time where I make the transition back to the closer. Does somebody have a burning question? Somebody who hasn't asked a question, sorry, somebody who hasn't had an opportunity to ask a question at all tonight, who's over here. So I'm gonna take the one question. I really encourage candidates and people to stay a few minutes. If you have a question that you really like to get answered, please, stay a little bit or get a business card and have a civil conversation about what the issue is. Okay? So I'm sorry, I'm just gonna ask. Is that okay? All right.
Okay.
So just say who you are. And
Sure. Rosie Perry, South Pearl Street. This is for anybody on the council, but I think I know how Mr. Taylor sits on this. You talked earlier about trying to save money. We have 2 school systems in this town. And people are paying taxes to pay for 2 school systems that we don't need. So how do you all feel about a unified school system, shared services, and basically closing down the charter school and amalgamating everything together?
you want to direct it to a particular person?
Whoever
or
wants to
anybody
answer
can
it.
that?
I'd like to know how they all
Okay.
feel about it.
Anyone want to start?
I know this is a topic that is discussed a lot. And like I said before, I went through the public school system. I received an excellent education. I do believe that people should have choices. However, I don't know enough to say that the reason 25 years ago. So I think that is something that I would like to learn more about and talk to the charter towns to find out why. Because I know there were reasons in the beginning. I don't know, are they still there? But at the end of the day, the ultimate decision, I believe, is with the state's Department of Education on whether they stay or they go and town by town. But it is something that really needs to be discussed amongst the schools and the boards.
We've tried.
Okay. Other people want to answer that question? You could say ditto also if you agree, or you can modify, or whatever. I'm not forcing you to.
No, I'll be brief. No, and Ms. Mirandi, that's an excellent answer, honestly. Frankly, it's not a matter for the council. It is between the school and the state. Unfortunately, I am a proud alum of the public schools. I graduated in 97, the charter school opened in 98. To be honest, I don't know what my parents would have done if there was a charter school option for my sisters and I. Because there were some issues in the schools then. However, we have tremendous leadership now, and I do believe that some of the issues that were part of the founding of the charter school have been resolved, and we may not need to have 2 school systems. As a taxpayer, it is a drain a little bit on the resources in Red Bank, particularly as it affects our borough students, because that money gets siphoned off automatically to the charter school. We have no say over their budget as a Board of Education for the public schools. Again, I'm the president of the Education Foundation. We literally raise money to make up budget shortfalls for our students in town. So it is not something we can address directly as a council. When it came up for the renewal, the council acted 5 years ago, and we voted against it on a matter of taxes as a body. I know there's been some discord around this issue in recent years, again, as their charter comes back up. I think if those issues are not present anymore, then we need to seriously evaluate that and petition the state to take the appropriate actions necessary.
All right, anything else? Anybody else want to make a comment, or want to move to the close? No, we're done with questions. So this is the time when the candidates have an opportunity to do their close. They each have up to 3 minutes. They pull the number out of a hat, so whatever the order is, that's the random order. So thank you.
Thank you again, Amy, for hosting, being moderator in Triumph, and everybody coming out. This was a good event, so again, I'm asking the people of Red Bank to vote for me if they want someone to continue serving on council who's committed to working hard and making positive changes for the betterment of this town. I live under 2 simple principles: do the right thing and put others before you. I believe this is what voters expect. We're up there for you. We need to address many issues in this town, like development, our infrastructure, our municipal building needs, amongst many other things. We've talked about public safety and road safety a lot tonight, and it is critical. We need to have a clear vision and strategic plan to get us there, as well as long-term financial planning to support our initiatives. All of which I presented during this year's budget presentation for those that have joined. Again, we need to start addressing quality of life. We talked about that a lot, but there is cleanliness of the town. That's always important as well. I have an extensive professional background and have implemented numerous initiatives and projects over my career that have resulted in over $10 million in revenue and cost savings. And this goes back to what I was talking to you before about efficiencies. As part of my role as the chair of Finance and Personnel Committee, I worked to pass the lowest tax increase in 6 years, less than 0.5%. I led the creation of a very informative budget presentation where I talked about improvements we need to make and implement. One of these have already been completed, and that's the creation of the budget calendar that's going to deliver the budget late April, early May. As part of my role in the parking committee, I worked with the parking team to have short-term ordinances updated. I'm also working to fill in 2 top positions in Red Bank that are critical for us to be efficient and operate and have some consistency. I strongly believe a council person is supposed to be sitting on the dais as the eyes, ears, and voice of the taxpayers, and that's what I'm doing and will continue. Decisions should be made for the right reasons and for all the people and for all the people's input. John and I are running with a vision and a plan to move Red Bank forward, and I want to continue to represent you, and I hope you vote for me on November 8th. Thank you.
Yes, thank you again, Amy, and to Triumph and to all the attendees. It was actually really great to see everyone show up tonight. One of the things I love most about Red Bank is that it's a town where people actually do engage in the political process. So it really is great to see everyone turn out tonight. I hope that tonight I've provided you with a perspective as to who I am as a person, as well as a candidate, and that you're not only hearing orchestrated statements from other sources, but that you've actually gotten a glimpse as to who I am and who I would be if I were to serve you on council. In addition to having a command of the issues, character is critical to who you put in office, because it not only determines a person's motivation, but it gives you insight to the type of leader they're going to be. When you see who someone is, that's the type of leader that you can expect in your community. Character and command of the issues are what drive the 3 parts of mine and Angela's vision for Red Bank. It's to promote healthy growth while curbing overdevelopment, ensuring that growth is in accordance with our own town's ordinances and the master plans, and not to deviate from them. We want to maintain that financial accountability, including continued control of the budget, supporting cost-saving measures, and ensuring that we set funds aside for rainy days or unforeseen crises like COVID. We want to improve that quality of life, including expanding our green spaces for residents to enjoy, such as in Marine Park, and improving pedestrian and bike safety, as we talked about before, so that residents can feel safe crossing the streets. To our opponents, I just want a friendly reminder of the challenge that I put forth when I opened up. I think this has been a generally civil debate, and I want to thank you both for that. To the voters, I'm actually going to ask you, in addition to the support that I'm going to ask for Angela and myself, please support Congressman Pallone, because this year's election is a must-win. Lastly, please just know that it would be my pleasure to be your voice on council, because, like Angela, we truly want to move Red Bank forward. Thank you.
They say the best indicator of future performance is past behavior. Well, I've already served this town. I continue to serve this town. I've been elected twice, one in a partisan election, one in a nonpartisan election, and I hope to do that order again, possibly winning in a partisan election here in November and potentially running again in May as we move the referendum forward. As John alluded to, we want to be good stewards as we move into a new form of government, and you have to have competent leadership. You have to have people who can see past the personal issues, the petty attacks, and lead without emotion. You have to be able to just get things done. Billy's campaign, for the referendum, our campaign for the referendum, we're swimming in the same direction. We want to see Red Bank move into that new era, and I promise that if I'm on the council for that 6-month term, I'll do everything I can to make sure we're governing responsibly and honorably. Thank you.
I never get the last word. This is great. I just want to thank all of you again for coming. Hopefully the Yankees are winning, and we can go better next. But I do want to thank, first of all, our proponents, Councilwoman John. I want to thank you for being here. It's very important that we see everyone in person. Look forward to discussing more on Saturday, because this is a historic. Everybody says it's a historic election. But this is a historic election. We question 1 on the ballot, and we can change our form of government from bottom to top, top to bottom. And I think that's the most important thing that we need to consider going forward, that we just have an old-fashioned form of government. If we switch it up, we can get more voices involved, more diverse voices involved, and that's something that I've always been a fan of. I don't have anything particularly clever to close out with other than say thank you again, and again, I look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday.
We got everybody? Yeah, okay. So, thank you very much to the candidates. I really appreciate your coming and being here and being willing to articulate your points of view and your honesty. I also appreciate the questions that came. These are just a reflection of some of the concerns that some of them are really old issues, some of them are kind of new and fresh and a little raw. So, but what's really important is for us to get all through this, not just for election day, but to make our town a better town. The fact that you're here means that you really care about the town, you want it to be a better place. You may not all have the same exact vision of how to get there, but that's okay, because that's what government is, and democracy is a little messy. So the most important thing is if you've already gotten your ballot in the mail, fill it out. If you don't fill it out, you can vote early. If you don't want to vote early, you like pushing that lever because that's what you're used to, go push the lever on election day. But what's most important is to vote, right? And help other people get to the polls. So, yes.
I think Little Silver is the closest early
Yes,
voters.
it's the Women's Club, which is across from Sickles, is where early voting is. If you have any questions, you can always call the clerk's office in town or the county. It's on, there's lots of websites that'll have the information. I'm sure the candidates will remind you early and often as to where to vote. So I really want to thank Triumph Brewery for letting us be here.
Yay.
Again, it wasn't the perfect place, as he stated. It's not the totally most appropriate place to do a candidate's night, but they were amazing to offer this space to us at no cost to the town or the community, and so thank you to them, and thank you for all of you for coming. Again, remember Election Day, and it's November 8th, and it's a Tuesday. It's always a Tuesday.
First Tuesday after the first one.
Okay. So hang out a little bit. I hope the candidates are willing to hang out a little bit too. Please, be engaged, be informed, and share the information. We have recorded this, and we will post it. I also know that Sue, who's very good and great at recording, has done recording as well. So if there's any glitches, we'll make sure that it's available to people to watch who are not able to be here. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you,
Get home
Amy.
safe.